Hey, what's up, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to the Pitlane Podcast, episode 122 today, to discuss the Haas-Rich Energy issues, not Haas issues, and preview the German GP, which is going to be very exciting because, obviously, reasons with Sebastian Vettel last year. I'm sure everyone will be ready with their memes on their fingertips and keyboard or phone or whatever. But yeah, back with you as your host, myself, Aarav, Callum, and Tom. Lads, though, let's talk about this Rich Energy and, well, now Lightning Volt situation going on here. When did it started at the start of the British GP weekend, didn't it? Where, it was all this hubbub about tweets coming off the Rich Energy account, and they were just, they were already extra before, but, these were extra of, just some guy, there's people who's given the intern the keys to the account, and then it became very clear that it was the what do you want to call it, CEO or founder or whatever, owner, William. I can't remember his surname. Story. There you go.
Ironic because he is a story. He's made a good story.
Yeah, and the paddock had a field day with it. So let's dissect that. What do we make of those tweets before we get to the Lightning Volt stuff? Just the tweets over the weekend, which ended in the most maddest tweet ever on the Sunday.
Well, I think it started with just the one tweet, wasn't it? It was along the lines of, because we finished behind Williams,
yes,
we've severed our ties with Haas. I think there's just one tweet out of nowhere where it was like, huh?
Yeah.
And then it all kind of snowballed a bit.
Snowball being the kind word.
It was... Are Rich Energy actually a real company, or are they pulling our leg here? Because they've pulled off some mad marketing blunders. It might have been a spot.
I don't know.
It might be absolutely perfect. They are getting the name of Rich Energy out
but
there,
now it doesn't matter.
Not in the right way.
It's not Rich Energy anymore, though. So I don't know anymore.
So as far as we know, they've come off the back of the British Grand Prix weekend where they were tweeting out a milk float in Haas colours.
It was a banger tweet.
Still,
it was hilarious.
Still one of the best tweets I've seen mid-race.
Don't get me wrong, if one of us three tweeted it, it might have been or any other person in the F1 community, fair enough. But Rich Energy, especially with their history and their... I think hypocrisy, in certain regards. But, so they've changed their name to Lightning Volt.
Yes. And
given assets or sold the company to a different company who are good at fixing legal battles off the back of, if you've forgotten, their white bikes. It literally is white energy. The logos are that close. White bike saga with the logos being too similar, they losing that, then they had to declare their finances to Haas and then cut ties with them because they probably didn't want to show the fact that they pretty much got no finances.
Yeah,
is that accurate?
It's very
messy. It
does
kind of go back to that. It does kind of go back to that debate.
It looks like what's happened is there's a board of directors at Rich Energy and investors and whatnot, and they wanted to do something different to what Story wanted to do, which was take the piss out of Haas, sever ties, and leave everything, and just, bolt away and not pay any money to white bikes. And then you've got the board of directors and investors who did call Story a bit of a tin pot or something like that, and vice versa, Story called them out for not being, truly invested in the company or whatever. So all these board of directors, investors, like you said, Cal, moved and changed the company essentially to Lightning Volt, and maybe moved admin and stuff like that to people who can take care of the legal battles they've got and still somehow pay the money off to white bikes, because they still have to pay that because they lost the battle. And also, I don't know what's going to happen with Haas, because obviously they've got some sort of agreement to paying them sponsorship, and now it's not Rich Energy, now it's going to be Lightning Volt, but we don't know if it's going to be on the car come Germany or what's going to happen. And now Story still has control of the Rich Energy account, it would seem on Twitter, the entire time. It's just his personal account, essentially, but it's still got Rich Energy on it, and he's still tweeting a few random things. And that's where we stand.
And retweeting politics.
Which
is mad in that sense as well. And then a Lightning Volt Energy Twitter account has surfaced.
That was a parody account.
Which is a parody account, but the problem is it's that similar to the Rich Energy one that it actually looks genuine.
Yes, because the Rich Energy one looked like a parody account of itself at some point.
Exactly.
But that was just when Story had full control.
There was a parody account of the Rich Energy one which actually said all the right things, so that looked like the proper Rich Energy account, but was the parody one, because it actually looked like that's how they should have said things.
Yeah.
Exactly. What a mess. What an absolute mess.
It's like you said, this is either the biggest leg pull ever or the most genius marketing strategy ever concocted.
I just feel like nothing's actually happened. I just think this all stems from just one guy, William Story. I think he's just an absolute mug, to put it put it straight up. I mean, we've said for 6 months to a year now when this got announced, we was like, ever since it happened, we was like, this don't smell right. Like this has got a dodgy vibe.
Oh yeah, it was ever since like pre-season.
Yeah,
I think we had
I
think we did the podcast pre-season when we got Niran in as well, and we're like, look at the HQ where it's located. It's just a random apartment in London. Look at just everything that, like, any video they've done with people, and they just looks like they're filming in some generic room they've rented out. No one's ever seen any of these cans. You can only buy them online, and even when you taste it, people have said it just tastes like Red Bull, so they've got no one-up on there. And ever since pre-season, they started tweeting out stupid things. So,
well, even then it says like it's made in Austria, which is again a bit of a
the
warning sign.
Red Bull link.
All of it, like even obviously now we know what's happened. I mean, we think we know, but even the Twitter account, you know, the logo didn't fit into the resolution of the logo. Like, you could tell someone that doesn't use Twitter tried to put the logo on, they messed it up. The hashtags are stupid. They're lowercase hashtags, which no one does lowercase hashtags as well. Like, there's little subtleties you notice on Twitter, and you know it's not right. Something's off. And you know, the whole situation, interviews with William Story, you think he knows about F1 when he speaks about it, but then when things like this happen, he actually hasn't got a clue. He literally does not have...
No.
He hasn't even got a chocolate biscuit. Like, it's weird. This guy, from the beginning, gave me a dodgy vibe. And,
I mean, what is he hiding behind that beard? You know? What? It's
a can of Rich Energy, probably.
Well, a can of Red Bull, probably. That's probably what it is.
Is he hiding this fake money that was around?
It's almost quite poetic as well, because I think F1 fans are quite good at sniffing out this sort of shit anyway. But generally, like, you've got the Grosjean using a white bike back in 2015 or 2014, whenever it was. You've got, I think I can't remember the motorsport team, but they got uncovered where they recently had Rich Energy on the car and then replaced it with white bikes. I don't know whether you two saw this. There's a tweet floating around somewhere on Twitter. Yeah. But they previously had Rich Energy and then switched to white bikes. Obviously, white bikes. White bikes in general have loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Big notoriety boost.
And the whole premise behind this thing is someone trying to beat Red Bull. Like, I'm not being funny, but you know, the leading brand energy drink in the world.
Yeah.
It has its own Formula One team.
They're everywhere.
Oh, it's absolutely everywhere. And they thought that by going with, well, a car that's barely second best on the grid at the moment, and it's just bizarre. It's been hilarious, but it's been so bizarre.
I think that's all most of us can do, really, unless you're involved in it. It's just sit back and laugh, really, because it's just entertainment.
Is this really Rich Energy, though, or is this just William Story controlling the Twitter account and saying all this absolute BS?
That's what I'm saying. I think it is him. Like, at some point...
I can imagine Rich Energy in the office just face-palming every time they see a tweet go out and just be like, oh, not again,
Well, yeah, when you say that, you just mean the board of directors. Like, there's not even Rich Energy aren't even a thing anymore. But the account's still there, because literally, it's probably just logged in on his phone, Story's phone, just I'll just tweet off this. Because at some point, he may as well just change it to a picture of him. Because it is just him now. And I'm sure at some point the board of directors will want to make an official Lightning Vault account or whatever and try and, you know, sort stuff out, basically. But I think they first also need to sort out this legal stuff. And then also, I'm sure, need to work out with Haas what on earth they're doing with the livery. And if, you know, if they're going to basically stick with the contract now. Because I'm sure there'll be, like, contingencies of, like, all right, so clearly this has not worked out. Do we just cut ties actually now? Or are we continuing with Lightning Vault, or whatever the case is? For Haas' sake, I hope they get paid.
I was going to think about Haas. I hope they get paid. See them paid.
I just don't think they've got no money. By the time they get through the court case, which is going to hurt them enough, I say hurt them enough, they haven't got no money. But even still, it's going to hurt them. You know, Rich Energy, we're going to call it now. they got to pay white bikes first, and then they got to take care of Haas. This is why I just go back to what I said a few podcasts ago, and what I say to everyone that I know pretty much. Haas need to fire whoever works for them and negotiated with these people, and we're like, you know what, this sounds really solid.
That is true.
Like,
you got a point
this
there.
sounds fantastic, because this person who agreed upon the deal, or a group of people, could potentially cost Haas a lot of money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
You got a very good point, yeah.
It's a two-way street. As much of a banter account Rich Energy may be, and the whole situation may be, there needs to be some light shone on the Haas individual or group of people that thought, you know what, this is a fantastic company. The numbers look great. The marketing strategy is on point.
Yeah.
Run by a good, genuine guy. Like, seriously, like, come on now. Who negotiates?
Also, as well, with the fact that you look at the rest of the Haas car, there's not that many sponsors on it.
No.
Like, you do look at it generally, and it's
like
all compiles of the fact that not only that this Rich Energy saga's happened, not only is the fact that they don't have that many other sponsors and they might not get paid out by Rich Energy, you've got their drivers driving into each other very unnecessarily at pretty much the second to last row of the grid, and just to compile that, the car is nowhere. Like, the car is absolutely nowhere. Like,
also,
it's been the most hurt by these tyres.
On that note, and kind of as we start to slowly maybe segue towards Germany and just like the rest of the, talking about actual the F1 on track, I saw a tweet earlier saying like Williams, where Haas were like, oh, we're not gonna change our philosophy and make a car for the tyres next year. We'll continue to make a car for performance. I'm like, so you want to be last again, or near last again?
That's quite.
Because
to be fair,
how ignorant can you be? If it's a formula for tyres, which it is right now, this year especially so, because they changed the tyres very much so, and the tyres will be the same sort of thing next year. How can you go out and say, oh, we're not going to make a car for the tyres, because it's not like the whole race is dependent on the tyres, and so if we're good in quali, we can somehow just magically do it, because that's exactly what they're not doing right now. They have good quali pace, and then they just fall away.
Yeah.
I think I can understand a little bit in the sense that at the same time, the tyres at the minute are very unpredictable, and they have a very specific window to work in. Dare I say, no one's really got on top of it yet, except for Mercedes, and no one really knows how to get on top of it, because I think Ferrari and Red Bull are still kind of guessing as well how to get the tyres to work. So in a way, I think they're also kind of hoping that if they get a fast car, when they do get it right and the tyres do work, it could be like a really fast car, like a really
That's
quick.
Just wish, but that's
wishful
that
thinking,
shouldn't be the mindset for a team of that stature.
Yeah, that's what I think of. That's something Ferrari or like Mercedes can afford, but they've got lots of money to kind
of that's like Red Bull having a full L year just to try something, and then it might come together at the end of the year, and then they might win the odd Grand Prix, but it's not.
They've got money. Let's not kid ourselves. Haas. They are quite like, they've got lots of outlets, not just F1.
Yeah, but you've got to remember, Tom, that
they've not got a lot of money though. They've not got a lot. Like
you've got to remember as well.
They've got money. They're a team that's been set up to be run on the cheap. Like,
yeah,
so they buy as much as they can from Ferrari. They've got nowhere near as much money as the cars they're fighting, i.e. McLaren, Renault. I mean, even Racing Point could probably beat them a little bit at this point. So
maybe it just ties into what I said about the strategy. I mean, like you said, with the sponsors, again, they're quite barren. We mentioned before, like, even when they join the sport, Haas in itself, their branding on their car is kind of like a sponsor, because they're trying to showcase not just the team's name, but they are actually a brand as well.
They are a brand.
In the US, but they are quite barren. But again, that might just go hand in hand with what I said before about the marketing negotiating team who agree these things. Maybe they're just not very good.
I think it's unfair to say that Haas have a lot of money when they've got other racing teams, when you've got to bear in mind that the whole of the grid of NASCAR spend the exact same as one F1 team developing their car. Like, that's how much financial difference there is between NASCAR and Formula 1. And it is ridiculous, and I'm glad we're bringing the prices down, but
a bit.
They haven't got anything, and I doubt they get much from the NASCAR side of things. And I think it's a completely different can of worms that they're going into when they came to F1, and they have survived ever since. But they need to do a little bit of change with, I think, the way that team's set up, and to go out and obviously you've got Magnussen complaining on the radio, you've got Grosjean can play in every Grand Prix, and I hope Grosjean gets dropped at the end of the season. I've had enough of him now.
That could happen this season, apparently. A few reports have been leaking here and there.
Rumours.
I said it a few podcasts ago. I said
Ocon
could go Haas. I did say it in a few podcasts, and you never know. It could.
That's not a bad shout, especially when like I was watching a couple of videos, and like you got to remember that Ocon got such brilliant results last year, like a P6 in Monaco last year that stands out for me. He's wasted talent, and he would fit into that team quite perfectly. And I think they'd need to build up, and obviously, and it also comes off the back of the news of Formula One going back to low deck tyres. So God knows what we've got now. I didn't even think these tyres were low deck.
I tweeted this at the time, and it pissed me off so much because it's just like, do the people making the rules not actually watch their own sport? What?
Apparently not.
What do they think we have now? We don't have high deg tyres now. We have very high temperature tyres, but they're not deg tyres.
That's in the two temperature sensitive.
Yeah, they're too temperature sensitive.
We have RC tyres.
They're not high deg tyres. Like these are not the same tyres we had in 2011 to 2013 by any means.
No.
They are very different.
This is an interesting debate because I disagree with both of you in the sense that I rate what they're saying. Don't get me wrong, they're not high deg now. That's bollocks. But I do appreciate that they're going to go for harder tyres later on. The way I see it, this isn't like a back in the day thing or like, oh yeah, drivers push out flat out all the time, whatever. In my opinion, if 2021 is what we want it to be and what is intended to be, so cars can follow, I think
that's a big if though.
Exactly.
Honestly, is anyone confident that'll happen? No, it won't happen. It won't happen. It'll be nowhere.
No, but
it's the biggest pipe dream going right now.
I really don't think degrading tyres is going to be.
If you have hard tyres and you don't have cars that can follow, it's going to be an absolute disaster. Absolute disaster.
No, and I agree.
They'll have to make a rule
up until last week when they announced finally there seems to be some sort of they're putting their foot down with the design of the car being ground effect. They're kind of okay, we're pushing this now. Up until then, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not feeling the 2021 vibe. It could be not that much of a reset, but it seems like they're going to push through with it anyway. The tyre situation for me is there's a balance. I think we've discussed it before. I think we don't want one stop, but we don't want 4 stops. I think there's a fine line between you want to have those kind of races where
you want a race where
a 1 or a 2 stop is about the same pace. And it's very close.
You want those races where if a car thinks they can go faster on a 2-stop, they do the 2-stop and make their way through the order and overtake back the cars that are trying a 1-stop. Whereas now, this is the issue with these tyres specifically, and that's why it's so laughable they say they're high degrading tyres. There's a reason why all the races are 1-stops, because every team has figured out, oh, you know what? If you actually drive at a certain pace, it's a lot faster just to do a 1-stop rather than actually doing a 2-stop.
Yeah.
But none of that is down to the tyres, though. It's just down to the cars.
No, that is the tyre. That is a tyre issue.
No, it's in the fact that drivers can't follow each other. So to the point where you can't do a 2-stop strategy because
I think
you can't make up the race time.
The tyres themselves don't degrade fast enough. That a 1-stop is still basically that's also a common issue in every race is people saying, oh, the drivers are coasting. They're coasting because they're making sure they can do that 1-stop. Because of the temperature issue, but the problem is the tyre doesn't ever really degrade enough where it's like, oh, you know what, screw it, now the 2-stop is worth it. Where we
Can I
used
just
to have
throw
that.
a hypothesis in? You look off the back of Silverstone. Yeah. I mean, drivers could follow surprisingly a lot easier around there, meaning that 2021 rules, if they just make the cars 20%, 10%, 15% easier to follow, I think racing will be just fine with DRS. 30 to 40% easier to follow without DRS. But at the minute, remove the temperature aspect of the tyres at the moment, the tyres are fine.
That's what I'm saying. I think the tyres right now, and I think a 1-stop is what you'd normally get. This is what I'm saying. I don't think a 1-stop with tyres where you can push all the race is just really the problem. I think it's just ultimately down to what they want to do with the cars, because in theory, if you can push, let's take the Leclerc Verstappen battle as an example. I don't think at any point during those 10 laps they were battling, they were holding back. they were pushing.
Oh, no way.
So this is what I'm saying. If tyres can last forever, or just go for one stop basically races, that proved, in my opinion, that tyre wear means nothing because they were both in equally fresh tyres and they could push. It was just down to the on-track racing. And I think if the 2021 cars do improve racing, I really think tyres don't mean much. The same way with refueling, which is like a rumour going around, for me, I don't want that back because I don't think it's going to change much. Because ultimately, with the current cars, track position, regardless of the circuit, is everything because dirty air is way too potent. So I think tyres, fuel, you can say whatever you want. Everyone's got a different opinion. I prefer harder tyres to be able to push every single lap. You, Cal, prefer more degradable tyres. That's fair enough, and everyone's going to have a different opinion. But ultimately, I just think it boils down to the type of cars. And I think if the cars can battle and race and not have any dirty air, I don't...
Well, I mean, that's the bottom line anyway, no matter what. I think that's not even like... That's not part of the equation. That's like, I think everyone can agree that, though. Like, that's a given. Basically just want the cars to follow. But I still think that an F1 race needs to have strategy involved. And a one-stop just doesn't have any strategy.
But that's why we have 3 tyres.
Exactly.
If you throw the hypothesis in the fact that, you know, if the 2010 cars could follow a bit easier, we wouldn't have DRS right now, for example. Because that season, generally, we had the one-off couple of races where we had the 2 stops, like maybe a very odd couple of races. Most of them were all 1-stops. But obviously, like, that's why Canada, I think there's a video floating around on YouTube, that's why Canada shaped the whole decade, because tyres were degrading. And that made it one of the most exciting Grand Prix of the year because drivers couldn't overtake. But if in 2010 drivers could have overtaken each other, then we wouldn't be in this mess right now, generally, because everyone would know that it's just got to keep the cars on the side. But refueling go away, and at the minute it just doesn't need to be as temperature sensitive because we had one of the best Grand Prix in recent years last time out, I think, when it came to the battling. Yeah. So. And we always talk about this but it's a common issue that still yet to be fixed. But when it comes to the tyres these days, we have drivers trying softs, mediums, hards, trying different strategies. Like they are switching it up quite a bit. And like even after the last race, Mercedes were going to do a 2-stop. So like they are now prepared because they know that Silverstone they can overtake each other. Like, bloody hell, they were slipstreaming each other pretty much through turn 1, 2, and 3. That's how the overtaking moves were staying good, because the cars are fast enough now for Silverstone to be a good overtaking track. That's what I realised in this last couple of weeks. It's like, it's actually, the cars are fast enough to make this new first sector quite good to overtake on, but generally, just make the cars a little bit slimmer, lighten them, and make them a bit easier to follow. Leave the tyres as they are, just make them less temperature sensitive. I think you'll be hitting the nail on the head.
Do what everyone wanted 2021 to actually do. Surprise.
Yeah.
I think don't get me wrong, there is an element of like, I do think they are delaying it a little bit just because they don't want to give anyone a massive head start.
Well, that's what Adrian Newey said. Yeah.
Like,
he said
even the teams were like, delay it a bit.
I just hope they're not. I just really hope they're not delaying it because they know they can't get everything through.
I hope not either. But I saw a few reports saying that I think until October.
But what's holding them back? What's actually gonna is it Ferrari gonna throw the toys out the pram?
Because I think Mercedes might as well. I think it's more than just Ferrari this time. But
why would they wouldn't just walk away from the sport because of that? Not Mercedes, and not Ferrari. No way. Yeah, they will not just pack their bags and go. They will not make 1,200 people made redundant like that.
It's a bit of a tricky one because, again, we've discussed it before. Mercedes, I think they could survive without F1 flying. Ferrari, again, there's that constant argument of does Ferrari need F1 or does F1 need Ferrari? Because it is a bit of a 50-50.
I mean, I don't see many people buying Ferraris these days, but...
No, but
maybe that's just my local area.
No, my point is you could argue Ferrari are bigger than F1. I think. I wouldn't say Mercedes are bigger than F1, but
I've said it before, though. F1 just need to go, here's the rules, get in or get out.
Iron Fist.
As the great Jeremy... I mean, and you know the whole thing with Jeremy Clarkson?
Yeah, I've seen
and how he... Yeah. That was the most ridiculous... old, backdated. Oh my god, that was just so outdated. What everything he was saying in that. But the only thing I agreed with was telling Mercedes and Ferrari to do one because I'm not being funny. apart from the odd championship challenge, Ferrari hasn't really offered the sport much in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Has it really?
No, not really. No.
In what sense?
They're just being laughed at. They're not Ferrari what they used to be.
No,
they're a bit of a laughing stock in the last 5 years.
Funny enough, I feel like they've just turned the corner this year in regards to their presence on social media. That's the first thing they've done in like.
Okay. There's not really much correlation though, between good tweets and good on track.
On track's another thing. They actually haven't offered anything on track in a lot of years now. It's been
we're talking like
they've had a few moments here and there, but they've never really mounted. The most serious title challenge was 2018. That fell apart.
And it will be a massive loss if they were to go off the grid, but they just won't, because I feel like they've got unfinished business. It's ridiculous for them to think that they just pack up their bags and go. They would not make people. They just wouldn't go at all. So I think F1 just needs to bite the bullet and go, right, these are the rules. Deal with them.
Yeah, I really hope they do kind of push as much as they wanted through of the original plans. But yeah, every single week I see articles of like, engineers are going to doubt this, the team principal is going to doubt this, the whole team's going to doubt this. I really hope these all delays are just a way to basically get as much through as they can, basically, and then be like, right, real late on, here's the car, try and develop it in this short amount of time, and hopefully it shakes up everything.
Hands down, hopefully Ross Brawn can bring us something. We've got faith in Ross, so fingers crossed. But the current F1's all right at the minute. I mean, the last two races have been all right.
Last
so
two races
Germany
bangers,
is.
I'm holding caution. You just never know with F1. So, but the last two have been great. And Hockenheim, I always enjoy Hockenheim as a circuit.
Last year was a banger. So.
Yeah, exactly. Last year was very fun with the rain. There might be there's a forecast of rain on Sunday in Germany, so could be very
temperatures as well, which
very
is what
tasty.
Mercedes in Austria as well. So
could be very.
It kind of segues into predictions quite nicely, to be fair.
Yeah, could be very, very tasty. And also Mercedes is going to have a special livery to celebrate. What was it?
Oh my god, I can't wait to see that.
What we've seen of that. Oh my god.
Yeah, it looks very different. Very different.
A white car.
Well, it's Mercedes racing white. I think is what it was. Because I read. Actually, I've got a fun fact for you. The reason why they went to silver instead of they initially was white, but they went to silver because the tub of the car was silver anyway. So, and they wanted to save weight, so they got rid of the white. And then that's why they're now silver.
Fair enough.
Silver arrows are born.
There's your little fact. See, I know things.
That's why we have him on here, ladies. That's why you broke him out of prison recently, for those kind of facts. So should we go with predictions then for Hockenheim?
Yeah, sure.
Let's start off with pole position then. What are we going for? Saturday. It looks like it's gonna be dry on Saturday and then raining on Sunday.
But dry and a toasty one.
I still can't look past Mercedes. It's their home race. It's a big occasion. It could be hot, but temperatures shouldn't affect them on a Saturday, not in qualifying. So, is in form. What can we say? It's Hamilton for pole. I think it's hard to argue against that.
Yeah, you can't really look past Lewis Hamilton.
He's in the form of his life at the minute.
Yeah.
We said in the last podcast, it's that kind of scary form that you don't really want to. If you're a driver, you're like, oh no, he's at that point again. He's at that peak where you want to try and not. You don't really want him at. So yeah, I think Lewis for me is on pole.
I'll agree.
Yeah, I think Mercedes. I think other cars will be. I think Red Bull might be quite good around Hockenheim, but I think Mercedes.
I think so as well.
I think Mercedes, just because it's the German Grand Prix, they'll make sure they turn up. And yeah, I think Lewis will do it. Yeah, on pole. Come the race day though, maybe a little bit of a different story. There might be some rain involved. It's also just the race, and like Cal said, if it's hotter temperatures as well, might affect things for Mercedes. So what are we saying then, guys?
We'll do a top 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Top 10? Really?
Well, I think it's fair because you can kind of more or less a top 6. You know.
Eventually, we'll be predicting the whole grid, F2 and F3.
Let's just do Hockenheim first, and then
I'm going to back Lewis to win still. I think, yeah, there could be temperature issues, but it's not the same as Austria. Austria is genuine. I feel like Mercedes, when they say they're going to struggle, they tend to be better than ever. It's just the way it is. Like you know, when they stack the deck against themselves, they're twice as fast. So I'm going to still back Mercedes. I'm going to say Hamilton, Bottas. Verstappen, I think Red Bull should do well around there. I think they've got good straight line speed, and that final sector is going to be the difference maker between them and Ferrari, I feel. I'm going to say Gasly fourth. I'm going to say, you know what, I think he's going to continue. I think the form's going to continue. Leclerc fifth, Vettel sixth. I'm sorry, Sebastian, it's your home race, but I think you can put the Ferraris in any order, but they're going to be fifth and sixth. That final sector is going to kill them.
Fingers crossed for the rain clouds. So I'm saying so with a soggy German Grand Prix, I'm going to put a Verstappen to win.
Ooh,
because I
was going to go for that. I think.
Yeah, Verstappen, Hamilton, Leclerc, Vettel, Bottas, Gasly.
I don't know why you believe the weather forecast at this point. I really don't.
I'm believing the fact that it's hot because I'm sweating.
I'm going to be praying it's raining, but even if it's hot, I don't know. I reckon Red Bull's really turned the corner. Like there was also an article at Silverstone that the Red Bull was actually so quick that the Honda engine couldn't keep up. So basically, I know it sounds like a mad headline. I'll explain it. So the Red Bull has now improved so much as a car that in the corner, Verstappen had so much confidence whacking on the throttle, full throttle, mid-corner to get the power down. The electronics in the Honda engine could not compute he was getting on the power that early in the corner, wanted to. And so every single time he did that, there was a reason why on the team radio at some point he was saying there was an issue with power delivery, because every time he was doing that, he was actually losing like a tenth of the power was still getting there, and then a tenth later the power finally fully came on because the electronics just weren't mapped for the car to get on the power that early every single time.
He's kind of got turbo lag then, kind of.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, effectively, even though they've
already got
input
lag. Yeah, I feel like you'd put that at.
Yeah, like they've already got a turbo on, but they've got more turbo lag, or input lag rather, because the electronics that map the engine just weren't ready.
Literally input lag, really, isn't it? It's real life input lag.
Yeah, basically, like the engine was like, hang on, wait, I wasn't expecting you to get on the power this early. Hang on,
right?
Here's the power.
Are you okay?
So they maybe sort the mapping out a little bit. That Red Bull car really is improving very, very quickly. And they had a little bit of a dip just before Austria, and they really bounced back. And Silverstone again, they improved. So and we talked about Verstappen. What could have been about him fighting, the podium and maybe even the Mercs if he had not got caught up in the Ferrari fight. So I think I'll go with Verstappen P1.
I don't think he would have challenged him.
P2, I'll go with Hamilton. P3, I'll go with just because I feel bad for him. I want him to do well. P3, Sebastian Vettel somehow. Maybe Bottas has a mistake, or if it does rain, he does a Bottas and spins it or whatever somewhere. So I'll say P4 Bottas, P5 Gasly, and that's my top five. Shall we now go with the best of the rest kind of marker?
I don't see how you can bet against Hamilton. I really can't see it. Like, even in the wet.
Tom, I'm just praying. I'm praying for a good end of the season. That's all I'm doing. Like, I would just say Hamilton.
I've just given up. because I can see already. I'm just not even going to bother getting my hopes up. Hamilton just doesn't have a weakness. Not even in the wet. He's not even vulnerable. He's pretty quicker in the wet.
I know. But that's why Verstappen's probably the only driver on the grid that can probably rival him in the wet at the moment.
Maybe. Rest of the grid, I'm going to stick with McLaren. I've got good vibes. And I think bar sector 3, to a lesser extent than Ferrari, I think they could get away with it. And I think compared to midfield teams, it's not as much of an issue because downforce-wise, I think Mercedes and Red Bull's difference of Ferrari sector 3 will hurt them a lot more. McLaren compared to Renault and whatnot should be okay. So I'm going to say, as long as they have reliability, which is good, I'm going to stick Norris and Sainz 7th and 8th. Renault have been strong, so I'm going to say Hulkenberg 9th and Ricciardo 10th.
All right.
I'm going with it. Them two teams, I think they're in form. I think it's going their way. Haas are all over the place. Alpha are getting better, but I just feel like Renault and McLaren are just a bit too strong at the minute. And then Toro Rosso a bit up and down as well. So yeah, I'm going to say McLaren and Renault take the spots.
Sainz, Lando, Kimi, and
Hulkenberg's
Daniel.
home race as well, so...
Couldn't care less. Vettel crashed its home race.
I'm going to say, Leclerc P6, Sainz, I'll go P7, and I'll go. I'll go for Ricciardo. Then I'll say Norris, and then Raikkonen P10, and then
I'm quite shocked.
Toro Rosso just missing out. I think Toro Rosso could be pretty decent again at Germany.
I'm quite shocked, Ira, if you haven't predicted your new best friend as the winner, Kimi. Like, obviously, you two are best friends now.
Yeah, best friends, mate. Yeah, I gave him
pole
all
position,
the racing
fastest
tips,
lap, world champion.
All the racing tips. He's ready now.
Yeah.
He'll be driving around the pad around Hockenheim.
Oh, I'm
I've heard
sure
it's a
it
pad
will be.
track, so
Yeah.
Go well.
Oh, so that's a throwback and a half.
Yeah, pad track, wheel track.
Oh, it's a pad track.
So those are our predictions for the German Grand. I'm looking forward to Germany, the Hockenheim circuit. It's just a fun circuit. We had a lot of fun.
I love Hockenheim.
Yeah,
brilliant. Last time we're there for at least 2 years. So, year. I know, I don't know what to call it. They're not there next year, so.
This is a shame.
The year after, for the final year in 2 years. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Good wording there, lads. Good wording.
Yeah.
Mathematics.
Mathematics. But so that's been our predictions for the German GP, and a lot of talk ahead of the German GP weekend. We'll have an instant race reaction for that. We probably will not have a in-depth reactionary podcast though for it, and so we'll have the instant race reaction for Germany, then we'll have an instant race reaction for Hungary from Hungary, because us three will be there in Budapest for the Hungarian Grand Prix. And then we'll probably have an off-race week podcast in between Hungary. And then, of course, it's a summer break. So we'll just have an off-race week podcast, basically, once we get back, just to wrap everything up before the summer break. And then we'll probably have a summer break of our own until we get to the Belgium Grand Prix. So that's the kind of plan for videos relating to us three on the channel here. But if you guys did enjoy this podcast, then be sure to hit that like button. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. Let us know your predictions for the German GP for quali and the race. And if you aren't around here, do subscribe to this channel for the podcast. Check out these two Twitter handles on screen the entire time. If you do like what we're doing around here, you can support us directly on Patreon, or you can check out GT Omega if you need a racing chair or desk chair, and use the code PitlaneF1 at checkout. That'll directly help us. We're on audio, so obviously we'll be on screen, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes. But that's been the Pitlane Podcast 122 for the German GP. We'll see you guys for instant race reaction on Sunday. Till then, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.